Hello there and welcome to Science with Sleepy. I'm so glad you found your way here. Maybe you had a long day, or maybe you're the kind of person who likes falling asleep to deep thoughts and historical mysteries, rather than counting sheep. Either way, tonight's journey is for you. You've got nothing to do but rest. Let your mind relax, your breathing slow, and your body grow light, as if gravity itself has softened. Because tonight, we're traveling back in time, not through space but through history. We're going to ancient Egypt, to a city called Alexandria, to a place that once held the greatest collection of knowledge the world had ever seen. A library, not just any library, the Library of Alexandria. Imagine walking through halls filled with scrolls, hundreds of thousands of them, maybe even more, scrolls from every corner of the ancient world, from Greece, from Egypt, from Persia, from India, from everywhere people wrote down their thoughts, their discoveries, their ideas, their knowledge. Imagine shelves stretching as far as you can see, each scroll carefully preserved, each one containing ideas, stories, discoveries, the wisdom of philosophers, the calculations of mathematicians, the observations of astronomers, the knowledge of doctors. All in one place, all collected, all preserved, all waiting to be read, to be studied, to be understood. This was the dream, the Library of Alexandria, built more than 2,000 years ago, designed to hold one copy of every book in the world. Every scroll, every piece of knowledge, all gathered together, all protected, all shared. Scholars came from everywhere to study there. They lived there, they worked there, they discovered things there, they wrote things there, they shared ideas. They built on each other's knowledge, they created new understanding, together, in one place. The greatest center of learning the ancient world had ever known. But then, one day, it was gone. Not all at once, not in a single moment, but slowly, over time, through fires, through wars, through neglect. Through the slow decay of time, the library disappeared, the scrolls burned, the knowledge was lost, forever. What was in those scrolls? What ideas, what discoveries, what stories, what knowledge, we'll never know, not completely, not fully. So much was lost, so much we can never recover, so much that might have changed everything. But what if it hadn't? What if the Library of Alexandria never burned? What if all that knowledge had survived? What if those scrolls were still here today? What if we could read them, study them, learn from them? What would we know that we don't know now? How would the world be different? How would science be different? How would everything be different? That's our journey tonight. We'll explore what the Library of Alexandria really was, how it worked, what it contained. We'll discover what knowledge was lost when it disappeared. What ideas vanished forever, what discoveries we'll never see. We'll learn how knowledge spreads and survives through time, how fragile it can be, how precious it is. And we'll imagine what might have happened if the library had survived, if all that knowledge had been preserved. If those ideas had been passed down through the centuries, how would science have advanced? How would technology have developed? How would medicine have progressed? How would civilization have changed? The ripple effects would be enormous. One library, one collection of knowledge, surviving through time, changing everything. Some of what you hear tonight may surprise you, some may spark curiosity, some may make you wonder. All of it is designed to help you drift gently into sleep, to let your mind explore while your body rests, to learn while you dream. And just before we begin, if these calm, curious explorations help you unwind or give you a quiet way to end your day, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It helps others find their way here too. one sleepy soul at a time. Now let's begin our journey, back through time, to a city by the sea, to a library, to a dream of collecting all knowledge, to a tragedy of loss, to a question, what if? In the year 331 BCE, a man named Alexander the Great founded a city. He called it Alexandria. It was in Egypt, on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, a perfect location, a crossroads of the ancient world, a place where ideas could meet, where knowledge could flow, where cultures could mix. Alexander died just a few years later, but his city lived on. It became one of the greatest cities of the ancient world, a center of trade, a center of culture, a center of learning. And at its heart, something remarkable was built, something that had never been tried before, something ambitious, something incredible. The Library of Alexandria. It wasn't just a building, it was an idea, a dream, a vision. The dream belonged to a man named Ptolemy. Ptolemy I. He was one of Alexander's generals. After Alexander died, Ptolemy became the ruler of Egypt. And he had a vision. What if you could collect all the knowledge in the world? What if you could gather every book, every scroll, every piece of writing? What if you could put it all in one place? What if scholars from everywhere could come and study it? What if you could preserve knowledge forever? What if you could build on it? Share it, expand it. That was the dream, and Ptolemy decided to make it real. He started building the library around 300 BCE, maybe a bit earlier, maybe a bit later. The exact date is lost to history. But we know it was built, we know it was ambitious, we know it was unlike anything that had come before. The library was part of something bigger. It was connected to a place called the Mauseon. That's where we get our word museum from. But it wasn't a museum like we think of today. It was more like a research center. A place where scholars could live, where they could work, where they could study, where they could discover. Imagine a place where the smartest people in the world could come together, where they could read everything that had ever been written, where they could discuss ideas, where they could do experiments, where they could write new books, where they could build on each other's knowledge. That was the Mauseon. That was the dream. The library itself was probably enormous. We don't know exactly how big it was. The building is gone, destroyed, lost. But from what historians can piece together, it was massive. Hundreds of thousands of scrolls. Maybe even more. Some estimates say 500,000 scrolls. Others say even more. It's hard to know for sure, but we know it was huge. The biggest collection of knowledge the world had ever seen. How did they collect all those scrolls? It wasn't easy. In the ancient world, books were rare. They were expensive. They were hard to make. Every scroll had to be written by hand, copied by hand. It took time. It took skill. It took resources. But the rulers of Alexandria had a plan. They had power. They had money. They had determination. And they used all of it to build the library. When ships arrived in Alexandria, officials would board them. They would search for books, for scrolls, for any written material. If they found something, they would take it, not to keep it forever, but to copy it. They would make a copy. Then they would give the copy back to the ship's owner. The original would go to the library. Sometimes they didn't even give the copy back. Sometimes they just kept the original. They would pay for it, of course. But the book would stay in Alexandria, in the library, preserved, protected, available for scholars to study. They also sent agents out into the world, people whose job was to find books, to buy books, to collect books, to bring them back to Alexandria. They traveled everywhere, to Greece, to Persia, to India, to anywhere books existed. They gathered knowledge from every corner of the known world. The library grew. and grew and grew, scroll after scroll, book after book, knowledge after knowledge, all collected, all organized, all catalogued, all preserved. But it wasn't just about collecting, it was about organizing, about making knowledge accessible, about helping scholars find what they needed. The librarians created a system, a way to organize all those scrolls, a way to find things, a way to know what was there. They created catalogs, lists of all the books, organized by subject, by author, by importance. They created summaries, descriptions of what each book contained. They created indexes, ways to find specific information. They were building something that had never been built before. A system for organizing all human knowledge. And scholars came from everywhere. They came to study, to read, to learn, to discover. They came to the Library of Alexandria because it had everything. All the knowledge in one place, all the books, all the ideas, all the discoveries, all waiting to be read, to be studied, to be understood. Some of the greatest minds in history worked there, lived there, discovered things there. Let me tell you about a few of them. There was a man named Eratosthenes. He was the head librarian for a while, but he was also a brilliant scientist, a mathematician, an astronomer, a geographer. He did something incredible. He calculated the size of the Earth, the circumference, how big around it was. How did he do it? He noticed something. On a certain day, in a certain place in Egypt, the sun was directly overhead. No shadows. But in Alexandria, on the same day there were shadows. The sun wasn't directly overhead there. He measured the angle of the shadow. He knew the distance between the two places. And he used math, geometry, to calculate how big the Earth was. His answer was remarkably close to what we know today. He did this more than 2,000 years ago, using just observation, math, and the knowledge available in the library. There was Euclid. He wrote a book called Elements. It's one of the most important books in the history of mathematics. It laid out the foundations of geometry, the basic rules, the basic principles, how shapes work, how space works, how math works. His book was so good that it was used as a textbook for more than 2,000 years. Students still learn from it today. It's that fundamental, that important, that clear. Euclid worked in Alexandria. He had access to all the mathematical knowledge that had been collected. He built on it, he organized it, he made it accessible. And he created something that changed mathematics forever. But Euclid wrote other works too, works about optics, about music, about other mathematical topics. But we've lost many of them. We've lost the details, the complete works, the full knowledge, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. Euclid also wrote about conic sections, about curves, about shapes. But we've lost much of that work, much of those explanations, much of that knowledge, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. If all of Euclid's works had been preserved, mathematics could have advanced much faster. New discoveries could have been made earlier. New proofs could have been found earlier. New understanding could have been reached earlier. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. There was also a mathematician named Diophantus. He wrote about algebra, about equations, about solving problems. But we've lost most of his works. We have only a few fragments. Most of his knowledge is gone. Most of his ideas are lost. Most of his understanding disappeared. If all of Diophantus' works had been preserved, algebra could have advanced much faster. New methods could have been developed earlier. New techniques could have been discovered earlier. New understanding could have been reached earlier. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. There was also a mathematician named Apollonius. He wrote about conic sections, about curves, about geometry, but we've lost most of his works. We have only fragments. Most of his knowledge is gone. Most of his ideas are lost. Most of his understanding disappeared. If all of Apollonius' works had been preserved, geometry could have advanced much faster, new discoveries could have been made earlier, new proofs could have been found earlier, new understanding could have been reached earlier, all because the knowledge was there, all because the ideas survived, all because understanding continued. There were many other mathematicians, many other astronomers, many other scientists, whose works were lost, whose knowledge disappeared, whose ideas vanished, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. We'll never know what they discovered. We'll never see what they understood. We'll never learn from their knowledge. If all those works had been preserved, science could have advanced much faster. New discoveries could have been made earlier. New understanding could have been reached earlier. New progress could have been achieved earlier. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. There was Archimedes. He was one of the greatest scientists of all time. He discovered principles of physics. How things float. How levers work. How pulleys work. He invented things. Amazing things. Machines. Devices. Tools. Some of his works were preserved in the library. Some were lost. We know about some of his discoveries because other people wrote about them, but we've lost many of his actual writings, his original works, his detailed explanations, his proofs, his ideas, lost forever when the library was destroyed. There was Hipparchus. He was an astronomer. He mapped the stars. He catalogued them. He studied their movements. He created the first comprehensive star catalogue. He discovered things about the moon, about the planets, about how the sky works. His work was preserved in the library, but much of it was lost. We know about some of his discoveries, but we've lost the details, the observations, the calculations, the knowledge. Hipparchus created a star catalogue with over 850 stars. He mapped their positions. He recorded their brightness. He studied their movements. This was an incredible achievement, the most detailed star map the ancient world had ever seen. But we've lost most of it. We know he made it, we know it existed. But we've lost the actual catalogue, the detailed positions, the precise measurements, the complete map, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. We know he discovered the precession of the equinoxes, the slow wobble of Earth's axis. This was a major discovery. It showed that the sky changes slowly over time, that the stars shift position, that nothing in the universe is completely still. But we've lost his detailed observations, his calculations, his complete explanation. We know he discovered it, but we've lost the full work, the complete knowledge, the detailed understanding. He also made observations about the moon, about its distance, about its size, about its movements, but we've lost most of those observations, most of those calculations, most of that knowledge. All gone, all destroyed, all lost. These were just a few of the scholars who worked in Alexandria. There were many more. Philosophers, doctors, historians, poets, all studying, all learning, all building on each other's knowledge, all creating new understanding. Together, in one place. The Library of Alexandria. The library wasn't just a collection of books. It was a living thing, a growing thing, a changing thing. Scholars didn't just read there, they wrote there. They created new knowledge. They added to the collection. They built on what was there. They expanded human understanding. They translated works. They took books written in one language and translated them into other languages. Greek, Egyptian, other languages. This made knowledge accessible to more people. It spread ideas. It preserved knowledge in multiple forms. It ensured that if one version was lost, another might survive. They created summaries. They took long works and created shorter versions. Summaries. Abridgments. This made knowledge more accessible, easier to find, easier to use. It also created backups. If the full version was lost, the summary might survive. One famous example is the Pinnaces. It was a catalogue of all the works in the library. Created by a librarian named Callimachus, it listed every book, every author, every subject. It was like a giant index, a way to find anything in the library. But we've lost it. We've lost the complete catalogue. We've lost the full index. All gone, all destroyed, all lost. We know it existed. We know it was important. We know it listed hundreds of thousands of works, but we've lost the details, the complete list, the full catalogue. All gone, all destroyed, all lost. If the Pinnaces had been preserved, we would know exactly what was in the library. We would have a complete list of all the lost works. We would know what knowledge disappeared. We would understand the full scale of the loss. All because the catalogue was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. The librarians also created commentaries. They read works and wrote their thoughts about them, their interpretations, their additions, their corrections. This built on knowledge. It expanded understanding. It created new ideas from old ones. But we've lost most of those commentaries, most of those interpretations, most of those additions. All gone, all destroyed, all lost. If those commentaries had been preserved, we would understand ancient works better. We would know how they were interpreted. We would see how knowledge was built on. We would understand the development of ideas. All because the commentaries were there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. They wrote commentaries. They read the works of others and wrote their own thoughts about them. Their interpretations, their additions, their corrections. This built on knowledge. It expanded understanding. It created new ideas from old ones. The library was a place of constant activity. Scholars reading, scholars writing, scholars discussing, scholars discovering, knowledge flowing, ideas spreading, understanding growing, all in one place, all preserved, all shared. But how was knowledge actually preserved? In the ancient world there was no printing press, no photocopiers, no digital storage. Everything had to be written by hand, copied by hand, preserved by hand. Scrolls were made from papyrus, a plant that grew in Egypt. The stems were cut, flattened, dried, then written on, with ink, by hand. Every word, every letter, every mark, written by hand. Copying a scroll was a long process. It took time, it took skill, it took care. Scribes would sit for hours, days, weeks, copying scrolls, word by word, letter by letter, making sure every detail was correct. Preserving knowledge one letter at a time. The library had many scribes, professional copyists. Their job was to copy scrolls, to preserve knowledge, to create backups, to make sure that important works existed in multiple copies, to ensure that knowledge wouldn't be lost. They were careful. They checked their work. They compared copies. They made corrections. They ensured accuracy. Because they knew how important it was, how precious knowledge was, how easily it could be lost. Scrolls were stored carefully, in special containers, protected from moisture, from insects, from damage, organized by subject, by author, by importance, catalogued, indexed, made easy to find, easy to access, easy to use. The library was a marvel of organization, a wonder of preservation, a testament to the importance of knowledge. A dream made real. A collection of all human understanding. All in one place. All preserved. All available. But it was also fragile. Scrolls could burn, they could rot, they could be destroyed, they could be lost. Knowledge was precious. But it was also vulnerable. It needed protection, it needed care, it needed constant attention. The library had that. For a while, for centuries, it was maintained, protected, expanded, preserved. It grew, it flourished, it became the greatest center of learning the world had ever known. But nothing lasts forever, not even the greatest library in history, not even a collection of all human knowledge. Time passes, things change, things are lost, things are destroyed. And the Library of Alexandria was no exception. The library's decline began slowly, over many years, over many decades, over many centuries. It wasn't destroyed in a single moment. It wasn't lost in one great fire. It faded, it declined, it disappeared, piece by piece, scroll by scroll, book by book, knowledge by knowledge. The first major blow came in 48 BCE. Julius Caesar was in Alexandria. He was fighting a war, a civil war, against another Roman leader named Pompey. The fighting came to the harbor. Ships were set on fire. The fire spread. It reached parts of the city. It may have reached the library, or at least parts of it. Historians debate exactly what happened, how much was lost, how much survived. But we know that fire came to Alexandria. We know that some of the library was damaged. We know that knowledge was lost. How much? We'll never know for sure. But we know it was significant. Some historians say the fire destroyed the main library, others say it only damaged a warehouse where scrolls were stored. Still others say the library survived but was weakened. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Some knowledge was lost. Some scrolls were destroyed. Some ideas disappeared, never to be recovered. The library continued after the fire. It was rebuilt, it was restored, it was maintained, but it was never quite the same. Some knowledge was gone forever. Some scrolls were lost. Some ideas were destroyed. The collection was smaller. The knowledge was less complete. The understanding was diminished. Over the next few centuries, the library faced more challenges. More fires, more wars, more destruction, more loss. Each time, some knowledge was lost. Each time, some scrolls were destroyed. Each time, some ideas disappeared. Slowly, gradually, inevitably. The library declined. The collection shrank. The knowledge diminished. The understanding faded. The library continued. It was rebuilt. It was restored, it was maintained, but it was never quite the same. Some knowledge was gone forever. Some scrolls were lost. Some ideas were destroyed, never to be recovered. Over the centuries that followed, the library faced more challenges, more fires, more wars, more destruction, more loss. The Roman Empire rose and fell. Christianity spread. The Islamic world grew. Empires changed, rulers changed, priorities changed. And through it all, the library declined. Slowly, gradually, inevitably, scrolls were lost, knowledge was destroyed, ideas disappeared, the great collection shrank, the dream faded, the wonder diminished. By the time the library was finally destroyed completely, much had already been lost. The final destruction is debated. Some say it was in the 3rd century CE. Some say later. Some say it was destroyed by Christians. Some say by Muslims. Some say it just faded away through neglect. The truth is probably a combination. Multiple destructions, multiple losses, multiple fires, multiple wars, multiple periods of neglect. All adding up. All destroying knowledge, all erasing ideas, all removing human understanding from the world. In 272 CE, The Roman Emperor Aurelian fought a war in Alexandria. The city was damaged. Buildings were destroyed. The library may have been damaged again. More knowledge may have been lost. More scrolls may have been destroyed. More ideas may have disappeared. In 391 CE, the Roman Emperor Theodosius ordered the destruction of pagan temples. The library was connected to a temple. It may have been destroyed then, or at least damaged. More knowledge may have been lost. More scrolls may have been destroyed. More ideas may have disappeared. In 640 CE, Muslim forces conquered Alexandria. Some sources say the library was destroyed then. Others say it was already gone. Still others say it was preserved. The truth is unclear. But by this time, the library was certainly in decline. Much knowledge had been lost. Many scrolls had been destroyed. Many ideas had disappeared. The final destruction was probably gradual. Not a single event, but a series of events. Fires, wars, neglect, all adding up, all destroying knowledge, all erasing ideas, all removing human understanding from the world, piece by piece, scroll by scroll, book by book, knowledge by knowledge, until nothing was left, until everything was gone, until all was lost. And when it was finally gone, when the last scroll was burned, when the last book was destroyed, when the last knowledge was lost, something incredible had disappeared. The greatest collection of human knowledge the world had ever seen, gone, forever. What was in those scrolls? What knowledge, what ideas, what discoveries, what stories? We'll never know. Not completely, not fully. So much was lost. So much we can never recover. So much that might have changed everything. But we do know some things. We know what was lost, because other people wrote about it. Because some works survived elsewhere. Because historians recorded what was there. Because we can piece together fragments, clues, hints, glimpses of what was lost. And what we know is staggering. The scale of the loss. The importance of what disappeared. The impact of what was destroyed. It's almost beyond comprehension. Almost. But not quite. Because we can imagine. We can wonder. We can ask. What if? But that's a question for later. For now, let's continue our journey. Let's explore what we know was lost, what knowledge disappeared, what ideas vanished, what discoveries we'll never see, what understanding we'll never have, the tragedy of lost knowledge, the mystery of what might have been. When the Library of Alexandria was destroyed, we didn't just lose scrolls, we lost ideas, we lost discoveries, we lost understanding. We lost knowledge that had taken centuries to build, knowledge that might never be recovered, knowledge that could have changed everything. Think about what was in those scrolls. Think about the scale. Hundreds of thousands of scrolls, maybe 500,000, maybe more, each one containing ideas, stories, discoveries, knowledge, all gone, all destroyed, all lost forever. We know some of what was lost, because other people wrote about it. Because some works were mentioned in other books. Because historians recorded what was there. Because we can piece together fragments. But we'll never know everything. We'll never see most of those scrolls, we'll never read most of those ideas, we'll never understand most of that knowledge. Let me tell you about some of what we know was lost. Some of the works that disappeared. Some of the knowledge that vanished. Some of the ideas that we'll never see. The ancient Greeks wrote plays. Many plays. We know about some of them. We have copies, we can read them today. But we've lost most of them. Historians estimate that we've lost about 90% of all ancient Greek plays. 90%. That means for every play we have, we've lost 9 others. Think about that. Think about all those stories, all those ideas, all those works of art, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. We'll never read them. We'll never see them performed. We'll never know what they contained, what stories they told. what ideas they explored, what beauty they created. Some of the greatest playwrights in history wrote works that are completely lost. We know their names, we know they wrote plays, but we've lost the plays themselves. The words, the stories, the ideas, all gone, all destroyed, all lost forever. Aeschylus wrote about 90 plays. We have only 7. Sophocles wrote about 120 plays. We have only 7. Euripides wrote about 90 plays. We have only 19. Think about all those lost plays. All those lost stories. All those lost ideas. All gone. All destroyed. All lost. And that's just plays. That's just one type of writing. Think about all the other types. Histories, philosophies, sciences, mathematics, medicine, astronomy, geography, poetry, stories. All lost, all destroyed, all gone. We've lost most of the works of ancient historians. Herodotus wrote a history, we have it. But we've lost many other histories, works that recorded what happened. Works that told the stories of people, works that preserved the past. All gone, all destroyed, all lost. Herodotus is called the father of history. He wrote about the Persian Wars, about the ancient world, about people and places. His work survived. We can read it today, but we've lost most other ancient histories. Works by other historians, works about other times, works about other places, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. Thucydides wrote about the Peloponnesian War. We have his work. But we've lost many other historical works. Works about other wars, works about other times, works about other civilizations, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. We've lost works about ancient Egypt, about ancient Persia, about ancient India, about many other civilizations, works that recorded their histories, works that told their stories, works that preserved their pasts, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. Think about all the history we've lost, all the stories, all the records, all the knowledge about the past. We know some things, but we've lost so much more, so much history, so many stories, so much knowledge. All gone, all destroyed, all lost. If those historical works had been preserved, we would know so much more, we would understand the past better, we would have more complete records. We would have more detailed stories. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. We've lost most of the works of ancient philosophers. We know about some of them, we have some of their works. But we've lost many others. Ideas about how to live. Ideas about how to think. Ideas about how to understand the world. All gone, all destroyed, all lost. We've lost most of the works of ancient scientists, mathematicians, astronomers, doctors, engineers, all their discoveries, all their observations, all their knowledge. Much of it gone, much of it destroyed, much of it lost. Think about Archimedes. We know he was brilliant. We know he discovered amazing things. We know he invented incredible machines. But we've lost most of his actual works. His original writings, his detailed explanations, his proofs, his ideas, lost forever when the library was destroyed. We know about some of his discoveries because other people wrote about them. But we've lost the details, the full explanations, the complete understanding. We know he discovered principles of physics. But we've lost many of his actual works, his original writings, his detailed proofs. Archimedes wrote a book called On Floating Bodies. We have it, but we've lost many of his other works, works about mechanics, works about mathematics, works about inventions, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. Historians know he wrote about the lever. He said, "Give me a place to stand, and I shall move the earth." But we've lost his detailed explanations, his mathematical proofs, his complete understanding. We know the principle. But we've lost the full work, the complete knowledge, the detailed explanation. He also invented amazing machines, war machines, devices for lifting water, tools for measuring, but we've lost most of his descriptions, most of his designs, most of his explanations. We know he built them, we know they worked, but we've lost the details, the how, the why, the complete understanding. One of his most famous inventions was the Archimedes screw, a device for lifting water. It's still used today, but we've lost his original description, his original design, his original explanation. We had to figure it out again. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. The same is true for many other scientists. Hipparchus mapped the stars, but we've lost most of his actual works, his star catalogue, his observations, his calculations. Much of it gone, much of it destroyed, much of it lost. Eratosthenes calculated the size of the Earth, but we've lost most of his works, his other discoveries, his other calculations, his other ideas. Much of it gone, much of it destroyed, much of it lost. Eratosthenes also created a map of the world. He tried to show all the known lands, all the known seas, all the known places. It was one of the first attempts to map the entire world. But we've lost it. We've lost the map. We've lost the knowledge. All gone, all destroyed, all lost. He also wrote about geography, about different places, about different peoples, about different cultures, but we've lost most of those works, most of those descriptions, most of that knowledge, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. He also studied the calendar. He understood the length of the year. He calculated when seasons would occur. He created a calendar system. But we've lost much of that work, much of those calculations, much of that knowledge, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. If all of Eratosthenes' works had been preserved, geography could have advanced much faster. Maps could have been more accurate much earlier. Understanding of the world could have been greater much earlier. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. And these are just the people we know about. Think about all the people we don't know about. All the scholars who worked in Alexandria. All the people who wrote books. All the people who made discoveries. All the people whose names we'll never know. Whose works we'll never see. Whose ideas we'll never understand. The library contained works from everywhere. From Greece, from Egypt, from Persia, from India. From every corner of the ancient world. Works in many languages. Works about many subjects. Works containing all kinds of knowledge. All collected. All preserved. All lost. We've lost works about medicine. Ancient doctors wrote about how to treat diseases, how to perform surgeries, how to understand the body. Much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again. Centuries later, after the knowledge was lost, Hippocrates was an ancient Greek doctor. He's called the father of medicine. He wrote many works. We have some of them. But we've lost many others, works about specific diseases, works about treatments, works about surgery, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. We know he understood the importance of observation. He knew that diseases had natural causes. He knew that doctors should study symptoms carefully. But we've lost many of his detailed case studies, many of his specific treatments, many of his complete works, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. Ancient doctors also wrote about anatomy. They dissected bodies, they studied organs. They understood the structure of the human body. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. In the 1500s, a doctor named Andreas Vesalius had to rediscover human anatomy. He had to dissect bodies again. He had to study organs again. He had to understand the body again. All because the ancient knowledge was lost. All because those works were destroyed. All because that understanding disappeared. If the ancient anatomical works had been preserved, Vesalius could have built on them. He could have expanded on them. He could have advanced from them. He wouldn't have had to start from scratch. He wouldn't have had to rediscover everything. He could have continued from where ancient doctors left off. Medicine could have advanced much faster. Understanding could have been reached much earlier. We've lost works about mathematics. Ancient mathematicians discovered things, proved things, understood things. Much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. We've lost works about astronomy. Ancient astronomers observed the sky, mapped the stars, understood the movements. Much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. The list goes on, and on, and on. So much was lost, so much knowledge, so many ideas, so many discoveries, all gone, all destroyed, all lost forever. We've lost works about chemistry. Ancient chemists understood how to make things, how to combine substances, how to create new materials. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. We've lost works about metallurgy. Ancient metalworkers knew how to work with metals, how to create alloys, how to forge tools, but much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. We've lost works about navigation. Ancient sailors knew how to navigate, how to use stars, how to read currents. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. We've lost works about architecture. Ancient architects knew how to design buildings, how to create structures, how to make them last. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. The scope of the loss is almost unimaginable. Every field of knowledge, every area of study, every type of understanding, all affected, all diminished, all incomplete. Because so much was lost, because so many works were destroyed, because so many ideas disappeared. But here's something interesting. Some knowledge did survive, not because it was in the library, but because it was copied, because it was spread, because it was preserved elsewhere. Some works were copied before the library was destroyed. Some works were translated. Some works were preserved in other places. Some knowledge survived, but not much, not compared to what was lost, not compared to what disappeared. Most knowledge was lost. Most ideas vanished. Most discoveries disappeared, forever. And here's the thing. When knowledge is lost, it's not just the knowledge itself that's lost. It's everything that could have been built on it. It's all the discoveries that could have been made. It's all the understanding that could have been reached. It's all the progress that could have been achieved. Knowledge builds on itself. One discovery leads to another. One idea leads to another. One understanding leads to another. When you lose knowledge, you don't just lose that knowledge, you lose everything that could have been built on it. you lose all the progress that could have been made. You lose all the understanding that could have been reached. Think about it this way. Imagine you're building a tower. Block by block, each block is a piece of knowledge, each block supports the next. If you remove some blocks, the tower falls, or at least it can't be built as high. It can't reach as far, it can't achieve as much. That's what happened when the library was destroyed. Blocks were removed, knowledge was lost. The tower of human understanding couldn't be built as high, it couldn't reach as far, it couldn't achieve as much, at least, not for a long time. Not until the knowledge was rediscovered, not until the blocks were replaced, not until progress could continue. And that's the tragedy, not just the loss of knowledge, but the loss of time, the loss of progress, the loss of understanding, the centuries it took to rediscover what was lost, the centuries it took to rebuild what was destroyed, the centuries it took to continue the progress that could have continued earlier. But we can't change the past, we can't bring back what was lost. We can't recover what was destroyed, we can only learn from it, we can only try to prevent it from happening again, we can only try to preserve what we have. We can only try to protect knowledge for the future. And we can wonder, we can imagine, we can ask, what if the library had survived? What if all that knowledge had been preserved? What if those ideas had been passed down? What if progress had continued? What if understanding had grown? What if civilization had advanced? What if everything had been different? That's a question we'll explore, but first, let's continue our journey. Let's learn more about how knowledge spreads and survives, how ideas travel through time, how understanding is preserved, how knowledge can be lost, and how it can be found again. Knowledge is fragile, it can be lost, it can be destroyed, it can disappear. But it can also survive, it can also spread, it can also be preserved. It can also be found again. The story of knowledge is a story of loss and survival, of destruction and preservation, of forgetting and remembering. When the Library of Alexandria was destroyed, not everything was lost. Some knowledge survived, not because it was in the library, but because it had been copied, because it had been spread, because it had been preserved elsewhere. Some works were copied before the library was destroyed. Some works were translated into other languages. Some works were preserved in other places. Some knowledge survived. How did knowledge survive? How did ideas travel? How did understanding spread? In the ancient world, it wasn't easy. There was no internet, no printing press, no easy way to copy books. Knowledge had to be preserved by hand, copied by hand, spread by hand. One scroll at a time, one copy at a time, one idea at a time. But it happened. Knowledge did spread. Ideas did travel. Understanding did survive. Not all of it, not even most of it, but some of it. Enough to keep some knowledge alive, enough to preserve some ideas, enough to maintain some understanding. Some works were copied before the library was destroyed. Scholars would make copies. They would take copies with them when they left. They would share copies with others. This spread knowledge. This preserved ideas. This kept understanding alive. Some works were translated. They were taken from one language and translated into another. Greek works were translated into Latin. Latin works were translated into Arabic. Arabic works were translated into other languages. This spread knowledge. This preserved ideas. This kept understanding alive. Some works were preserved in other places. Other libraries. Other collections. Other centers of learning. Monasteries preserved some works. Islamic scholars preserved some works. Other libraries preserved some works. This spread knowledge. This preserved ideas. This kept understanding alive. But it wasn't systematic, it wasn't organized, it wasn't guaranteed. Knowledge survived by chance, by luck, by accident, not by design, not by plan, not by system. Some knowledge survived, but most was lost, most disappeared, most was destroyed. After the Library of Alexandria was destroyed, knowledge preservation became harder, more scattered, more fragile, more vulnerable. But it didn't stop. People still preserved knowledge, they still copied books, they still spread ideas, they still maintained understanding, just not as well. Not as systematically, not as completely. In the Middle Ages, monasteries became centers of knowledge preservation. Monks would copy books, they would preserve works, they would maintain libraries. They would keep knowledge alive, not all knowledge, not even most knowledge. But some knowledge, enough to preserve some ideas, enough to maintain some understanding. Monks would sit for hours, days, weeks, copying books word by word, letter by letter, preserving knowledge, one book at a time, one copy at a time, one idea at a time. It was slow, it was laborious, it was difficult. But it worked. Some knowledge survived. Some ideas were preserved, some understanding was maintained. At the same time, in the Islamic world, scholars were also preserving knowledge. They were translating works, they were copying books, they were building libraries. They were maintaining centers of learning, they were keeping knowledge alive. The Islamic Golden Age was a time of great learning. Scholars in the Islamic world preserved works from Greece, from Rome, from Persia, from India. They translated them, they studied them, they built on them. They created new knowledge, they preserved old knowledge, they kept understanding alive. Works that had been lost in the West were preserved in the East. Works that had been destroyed in one place survived in another. Works that had been forgotten were remembered. Knowledge traveled, ideas spread, understanding survived. In Baghdad, scholars built the House of Wisdom. It was like the Library of Alexandria, a center of learning, a place where knowledge was preserved, where ideas were studied, where understanding was maintained. Scholars translated Greek works into Arabic. They preserved knowledge that had been lost in the West. They kept ideas alive that had been forgotten elsewhere. One famous scholar was Ibn Sina, also known as Avicenna. He wrote a medical encyclopedia. It was used as a textbook for centuries. It preserved medical knowledge. It spread medical ideas. It maintained medical understanding. It kept knowledge alive that might have been lost otherwise. Another scholar was Al-Khwarizmi. He wrote about mathematics, he developed algebra, he preserved mathematical knowledge, he spread mathematical ideas, he maintained mathematical understanding, he kept knowledge alive that might have been lost otherwise. These scholars didn't just preserve knowledge, they built on it. They expanded it. They created new understanding. They advanced knowledge. They moved understanding forward. All because they had access to preserved works. All because knowledge was maintained. All because ideas survived. But even with these efforts, much was still lost. Not everything was preserved. Not all knowledge survived. Not all ideas were maintained. Much was still destroyed. Much was still forgotten. Much was still lost. The preservation wasn't complete. It wasn't systematic. It wasn't guaranteed. Some knowledge survived, but most was lost. Most disappeared. Most was destroyed. Then came the Renaissance. A time of rediscovery. A time of relearning. A time of rebuilding. Scholars in Europe began to rediscover ancient knowledge. They began to relearn what had been lost. They began to rebuild what had been destroyed. They read works that had been preserved in the Islamic world. They studied translations. They learned from preserved knowledge. They built on what had survived. They expanded on what had been maintained. They advanced from what had been kept alive. But it took time, centuries, the knowledge had to be translated again, from Arabic to Latin, from one language to another. It took effort, it took resources, it took dedication, all because the knowledge had been lost, all because it had to be rediscovered, all because it had to be relearned. If the Library of Alexandria had survived, the Renaissance might have happened much earlier, or it might not have been necessary at all. If knowledge had been preserved continuously, there would have been no need to rediscover it, no need to relearn it, no need to rebuild it. Progress could have continued. Understanding could have grown. Civilization could have advanced, without interruption, without delay, without the need for rediscovery. Then came the printing press. In the 1400s, a man named Johannes Gutenberg invented a way to print books. Instead of copying by hand, you could print many copies. Quickly, easily, cheaply. This changed everything. Suddenly, books could be made in large numbers. Suddenly, knowledge could be spread widely. Suddenly, ideas could travel far. Suddenly, understanding could be preserved easily. The printing press made knowledge preservation much easier, much more reliable, much more widespread. Books were printed, many copies, thousands of copies, millions of copies. Knowledge spread, ideas traveled, understanding grew. The printing press made it much harder to lose knowledge. If a book was printed in many copies, it was much less likely to be lost. If knowledge was spread widely, it was much less likely to disappear. But it still happened. Books still burned, libraries still were destroyed, knowledge still was lost. But it was harder, it was less likely, it was less common. The printing press made knowledge more durable, more permanent, more likely to survive. Today we have even better ways to preserve knowledge: digital storage, the internet, cloud backups, multiple copies in multiple places. Knowledge can be preserved in ways that were impossible before. Knowledge can be spread instantly. Ideas can travel instantly. Understanding can be shared instantly. But knowledge is still fragile. Digital storage can fail. The internet can go down. Backups can be lost. Knowledge can still be destroyed. Knowledge can still disappear. Knowledge can still be lost. We've learnt from the Library of Alexandria. We've learned how fragile knowledge is. We've learned how easily it can be lost. We've learned how important it is to preserve it. We've learned how to protect it, how to back it up, how to spread it, how to keep it safe. Modern libraries preserve knowledge in many ways. They have physical books, they have digital copies, they have multiple backups, they spread knowledge widely. They preserve it in many forms. They protect it in many ways. They've learned from the Library of Alexandria. They've learned how to preserve knowledge better. They've learned how to protect ideas better. They've learned how to maintain understanding better. The Internet Archive is like a modern Library of Alexandria. It's trying to preserve all knowledge, all websites, all books, all information. It's ambitious, it's impressive, it's important. But it's also fragile, it's also vulnerable. It also needs protection. It also needs care. It also needs preservation. If the Library of Alexandria had survived, it would have set an example. It would have shown the importance of preserving knowledge. It would have inspired other libraries. It would have encouraged the preservation of ideas. Modern libraries might be even better. They might preserve even more. They might protect even more. They might maintain even more. All because the example was there. All because the tradition was stronger. All because preservation was more valued. The tradition of great libraries might have been stronger. More libraries might have been built. More knowledge might have been preserved. More ideas might have survived. The practice of collecting and preserving knowledge might have been more widespread. The habit of protecting ideas might have been more common. the culture of maintaining understanding might have been more valued. Think about all the libraries that could have been built, all the knowledge that could have been preserved, all the ideas that could have survived, all if the Library of Alexandria had set a stronger example, all if preservation had been more valued, all if the tradition had been stronger. The impact on culture would have been profound. If knowledge preservation had been more valued, culture might have been richer, people might have been more educated, understanding might have been greater, progress might have been faster, all because preservation was valued, all because knowledge was protected, all because ideas were maintained. The Library of Alexandria showed what was possible. It demonstrated what could be achieved. It proved the value of preservation. Even though it was lost, it inspired others. It showed the importance of libraries. It demonstrated the value of knowledge. It proved the significance of preservation. It continues to inspire us today. It continues to remind us of the importance of knowledge. It continues to show us the value of preservation. But we can't change the past. We can't bring back what was lost. We can't recover what was destroyed. We can only learn from it. We can only try to prevent it from happening again. We can only try to preserve what we have. We can only try to protect knowledge for the future. And we have a responsibility to preserve knowledge, a responsibility to protect ideas, a responsibility to maintain understanding, a responsibility to keep knowledge safe, a responsibility to make it last, a responsibility to ensure it survives. The Library of Alexandria reminds us of that. It reminds us how important knowledge is, how fragile it is, how easily it can be lost, how important it is to preserve it, how important it is to protect it, how important it is to maintain it. We've learned from the Library of Alexandria. We've learned how fragile knowledge is. We've learned how easily it can be lost. We've learned how important it is to preserve it. We've learned how to protect it, how to back it up, how to spread it, how to keep it safe. But we can always do better. We can always preserve more. We can always protect more. We can always spread more. We can always keep more knowledge safe. The story of the Library of Alexandria reminds us of that. It reminds us how precious knowledge is, how fragile it is, how important it is to preserve it. Knowledge is like a garden. It needs care, it needs attention, it needs protection. If you neglect it, it dies. If you don't water it, it withers. If you don't protect it, it's destroyed. But if you care for it, it grows. If you preserve it, it survives. If you protect it, it flourishes. The Library of Alexandria was like a garden of knowledge, a garden of ideas, a garden of understanding. It was cared for, it was protected, it was preserved. For a while, for centuries, it grew, it flourished. It became the greatest garden of knowledge the world had ever seen. But then it was neglected, then it was destroyed, then it was lost. The garden died, the knowledge withered, the ideas disappeared, the understanding was lost, forever. But we can learn from that. We can learn how to preserve knowledge better. We can learn how to protect ideas better. We can learn how to maintain understanding better. We can learn how to keep the garden alive, how to make it grow, how to make it flourish, how to make it last. And we can wonder, we can imagine, we can ask, what if? What if the garden had never died? What if the knowledge had been preserved? What if the ideas had survived? What if the understanding had been maintained? What if the library had never been destroyed? What if all that knowledge was still here today? What if we could read those scrolls, study those ideas, learn from that knowledge? How would the world be different? How would everything be different? That's the question we'll explore next. The world that could have been. The knowledge that could have survived. The progress that could have been made. The understanding that could have been reached. The civilization that could have been built. All if the Library of Alexandria had never burned. All if all that knowledge had been preserved. All if those ideas had survived. What if the Library of Alexandria had never burned? What if all that knowledge had been preserved? What if those scrolls were still here today? What if we could read them? Study them, learn from them. What would we know that we don't know now? How would the world be different? How would science be different? How would everything be different? Let's imagine, let's explore, let's see what might have been. It's a fascinating thought experiment, a journey into alternate history. A glimpse into a world where knowledge was preserved instead of lost. Where ideas survived instead of disappeared. Where understanding continued instead of stopped. If the Library of Alexandria had survived, knowledge would have been preserved. Ideas would have been maintained. Understanding would have continued. Progress would have continued. Civilization would have advanced. Not all at once, not immediately, but gradually, steadily, continuously, over centuries, over millennia, building on what came before, expanding on what was known, growing from what was understood. Think about science. If all that ancient knowledge had been preserved, scientists wouldn't have had to rediscover things. They wouldn't have had to relearn things. They wouldn't have had to figure things out again. They could have built on what was already known. They could have expanded on what was already understood. They could have advanced from what was already discovered. Take mathematics, for example. Ancient mathematicians discovered many things. They proved many things. They understood many things. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again. Centuries later. After the knowledge was lost, if that knowledge had been preserved, mathematics could have advanced much faster. New discoveries could have been made earlier. New proofs could have been found earlier. New understanding could have been reached earlier. All because the foundation was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. The same is true for astronomy. Ancient astronomers observed the sky, they mapped the stars, they understood movements, they discovered patterns. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it, we had to relearn it, we had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. If that knowledge had been preserved, astronomy could have advanced much faster. New observations could have been made earlier. New discoveries could have been found earlier. New understanding could have been reached earlier. All because the foundation was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. The same is true for physics. Ancient scientists like Archimedes discovered principles. They understood how things work. They invented machines. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it, we had to relearn it, we had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. If that knowledge had been preserved, physics could have advanced much faster, new principles could have been discovered earlier, new machines could have been invented earlier, new understanding could have been reached earlier, all because the foundation was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. Think about the steam engine. The ancient Greeks knew about steam power. They understood the basic principles. They even built simple steam-powered devices. But that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later. After the knowledge was lost, a man named Hero of Alexandria built a device called an eolipile. It was a simple steam engine, a sphere with nozzles. When steam came out, it spun. It was a working steam engine, built more than 2,000 years ago. But that knowledge was lost. The device was forgotten. The principle was forgotten. The understanding was forgotten. If that knowledge had been preserved, the steam engine could have been developed much earlier. The Industrial Revolution could have started centuries earlier. Technology could have advanced much faster. All because the foundation was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. The Industrial Revolution happened in the 1700s and 1800s. But if ancient knowledge about steam power had been preserved, it could have happened much earlier. Maybe in the 1200s. Or the 1300s. Or even earlier. Centuries before it actually happened. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. Think about the Antikythera mechanism. It was discovered in 1901, in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece. It's an ancient computer, a mechanical device. More than 2,000 years old, it could calculate the positions of planets, it could predict eclipses, it could track the cycles of the moon. It was incredibly sophisticated. More advanced than anything built for more than 1,000 years after it. But we don't know who built it, we don't know how it was made. We don't know the complete design. We've lost that knowledge, all gone, all destroyed, all lost. The mechanism itself survived. But the knowledge of how to build it didn't. The understanding of how it worked didn't. The complete design didn't. If that knowledge had been preserved in the Library of Alexandria, we might understand it completely. We might know how to build more. We might have advanced mechanical computers much earlier. We might have had calculating machines centuries before they were actually invented. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. Think about medicine. Ancient doctors knew many things. They understood many diseases. They knew many treatments. They performed many surgeries. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again. Centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. If that knowledge had been preserved, medicine could have advanced much faster. New treatments could have been developed earlier. New surgeries could have been performed earlier. New understanding could have been reached earlier. All because the foundation was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. Think about all the lives that could have been saved. All the diseases that could have been treated. All the suffering that could have been prevented. All if ancient medical knowledge had been preserved. All if those ideas had survived. All if understanding had continued. The same is true for engineering. Ancient engineers knew many things. They understood construction. They knew how to build. They created amazing structures. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again. Centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. If that knowledge had been preserved, engineering could have advanced much faster. New structures could have been built earlier. New techniques could have been developed earlier. New understanding could have been reached earlier. All because the foundation was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. Think about all the buildings that could have been built. All the bridges that could have been constructed. All the infrastructure that could have been created. All if ancient engineering knowledge had been preserved. All if those ideas had survived. All if understanding had continued. The pattern is clear. In every field, in every area of knowledge. If ancient knowledge had been preserved, progress could have been much faster. Understanding could have been much greater. Civilization could have been much more advanced. All because the foundation was there. All because knowledge was preserved. All because ideas survived. But it's not just about speed, it's also about direction. If knowledge had been preserved, progress might have taken different paths. Different discoveries might have been made. Different technologies might have been developed. Different understanding might have been reached. The world might have been different in ways we can't even imagine. Knowledge builds on itself. One discovery leads to another. One idea leads to another. One understanding leads to another. If the foundation is different, the building is different. If the knowledge is different, the progress is different. If the ideas are different, the understanding is different. If the Library of Alexandria had survived, the foundation would have been different, the knowledge would have been different, the ideas would have been different. The understanding would have been different, and everything built on that foundation would have been different. Everything. Science, technology, medicine, engineering, everything. We can't know exactly how different, we can't know exactly what would have happened, we can't know exactly how the world would have changed, but we can imagine. We can wonder, we can explore the possibilities, we can see the potential, we can understand the impact. Think about the scientific revolution. It happened in the 1500s and 1600s. Scientists like Copernicus, Galileo, and Newton made amazing discoveries. They changed how we understand the world. But they had to build on limited knowledge. They had to work with incomplete information. They had to rediscover what had been lost. If the Library of Alexandria had survived, the scientific revolution might have happened much earlier, or it might have been different. Scientists could have built on preserved knowledge. They could have expanded on maintained understanding. They could have advanced from continued ideas. They wouldn't have had to rediscover so much. They wouldn't have had to relearn so much. They could have continued from where ancient scientists left off. Copernicus proposed that the Earth orbits the Sun, but ancient astronomers had similar ideas. Aristarchus of Samos suggested this more than 2,000 years ago. But his work was lost. Copernicus had to figure it out again. He had to rediscover it. He had to relearn it. Centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. If Aristarchus' work had been preserved, Copernicus could have built on it. He could have expanded on it. He could have advanced from it. The heliocentric model could have been accepted much earlier. Astronomy could have advanced much faster. Understanding could have been reached much sooner. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. Galileo made amazing discoveries with the telescope. He saw the moons of Jupiter. He observed the phases of Venus. He changed how we understand the solar system. But he had to build on limited knowledge. He had to work with incomplete information. He had to rediscover what had been lost. If ancient astronomical knowledge had been preserved, Galileo could have built on it. He could have expanded on it. He could have advanced from it. His discoveries could have been made earlier. Or they could have been different. Or they could have been built on preserved understanding. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. Newton discovered the laws of motion. He understood gravity. He changed how we understand physics. But he had to build on limited knowledge. He had to work with incomplete information. He had to rediscover what had been lost. If ancient physics knowledge had been preserved, Newton could have built on it. He could have expanded on it. He could have advanced from it. His discoveries could have been made earlier. Or they could have been different. Or they could have been built on preserved understanding. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. And the impact would have been enormous. One library, one collection of knowledge, surviving through time, changing everything, transforming civilization, accelerating progress, expanding understanding, all because knowledge was preserved, all because ideas survived, all because understanding continued. But that's not all. The impact wouldn't just be on science and technology, it would be on everything. On philosophy, on art, on culture, on society, on how people think, on how people live, on how people understand the world. Everything would be different, everything would be changed, everything would be transformed. All because one library survived. All because knowledge was preserved. All because ideas didn't disappear. All because understanding continued. The ripple effects would be enormous. The changes would be profound. The transformation would be complete. But we can't change the past. We can't bring back what was lost. We can't recover what was destroyed. We can only learn from it. We can only try to prevent it from happening again. We can only try to preserve what we have. We can only try to protect knowledge for the future. And we can wonder, we can imagine, we can ask, what if? What if the library had survived? What if knowledge had been preserved? What if ideas had survived? What if understanding had continued? What if progress had been faster? What if civilization had been more advanced? What if everything had been different? It's a fascinating question, a thought-provoking question, a question that makes us think about the importance of knowledge, the fragility of ideas, the value of preservation, the responsibility we have, the future we're building, the knowledge we're protecting, the ideas we're preserving, the understanding we're maintaining. And that's what we'll explore next. The ripple effects. How one library could have changed everything. How preserved knowledge could have transformed civilization. How surviving ideas could have accelerated progress. How continued understanding could have advanced humanity. All if the Library of Alexandria had never burned. All if all that knowledge had been preserved. All if those ideas had survived. If the Library of Alexandria had survived, it wouldn't just change science. It would change everything. Medicine, agriculture, engineering, philosophy, art, culture, society. Everything would be different. Everything would be transformed. Everything would be advanced. The ripple effects would be enormous. One library, one collection of knowledge, surviving through time, changing the world. Let's start with medicine. Ancient doctors knew many things. They understood anatomy. They knew about diseases. They performed surgeries. They developed treatments. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later. After the knowledge was lost, if that knowledge had been preserved, medicine could have advanced much faster. Doctors could have built on what was already known. They could have expanded on what was already understood. They could have advanced from what was already discovered. They wouldn't have had to start from scratch. They wouldn't have had to rediscover everything. They could have continued from where ancient doctors left off. Think about all the lives that could have been saved. All the diseases that could have been treated. All the suffering that could have been prevented. All if ancient medical knowledge had been preserved. All if those ideas had survived. All if understanding had continued. Ancient doctors knew about hygiene. They understood the importance of cleanliness. They knew about infection. They understood how diseases spread. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again. Centuries later, after the knowledge was lost, if that knowledge had been preserved, millions of lives could have been saved. Diseases could have been prevented. Infections could have been avoided. Suffering could have been reduced. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. Think about the Black Death, the plague that killed millions in the 1300s. If ancient knowledge about hygiene had been preserved, it might have been prevented, or at least, its impact might have been reduced. People might have understood how diseases spread. They might have known how to prevent infection. They might have been able to protect themselves. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. But the knowledge was lost. People had to learn again. They had to discover again. They had to understand again, centuries later, after millions had died, after suffering had occurred. after knowledge had been lost. The same is true for many other diseases. Smallpox, cholera, typhoid, all could have been better understood, all could have been better treated, all could have caused less suffering. If ancient medical knowledge had been preserved, if those ideas had survived, if understanding had continued. Think about surgery. Ancient doctors performed surgeries. They removed tumors. They set broken bones. They treated wounds. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. In the 1800s, doctors had to rediscover antiseptic surgery. They had to learn again that cleanliness prevents infection. They had to understand again that sterile conditions save lives. All because the ancient knowledge was lost. All because those works were destroyed. All because that understanding disappeared. If that knowledge had been preserved, antiseptic surgery could have been practiced much earlier. Infections could have been prevented. Lives could have been saved. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. The same is true for surgery. Ancient doctors performed surgeries. They knew techniques. They understood procedures. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again, centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. If that knowledge had been preserved, surgery could have advanced much faster. New techniques could have been developed earlier. New procedures could have been performed earlier. New understanding could have been reached earlier. All because the foundation was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. Now let's think about agriculture. Ancient farmers knew many things. They understood crops. They knew about soil. They developed techniques. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again. Centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. If that knowledge had been preserved, agriculture could have advanced much faster. Better crops could have been developed earlier. Better techniques could have been used earlier. Better understanding could have been reached earlier. All because the foundation was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. Think about all the food that could have been grown, all the hunger that could have been prevented, all the people who could have been fed. All if ancient agricultural knowledge had been preserved. All if those ideas had survived. All if understanding had continued. Ancient farmers knew about crop rotation. They understood that planting different crops in different years keeps soil healthy. They knew about irrigation. They understood how to water crops efficiently. They knew about fertilizers. They understood how to enrich soil. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again. Centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. If that knowledge had been preserved, agriculture could have been more productive much earlier. More food could have been grown. More people could have been fed. Hunger could have been reduced. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. Ancient farmers also knew about selective breeding. They understood that choosing the best plants and animals for breeding creates better crops and livestock. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again. Centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. If that knowledge had been preserved, better crops could have been developed much earlier. More productive plants, more nutritious food, better livestock, all because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. Think about all the famines that could have been prevented. All the hunger that could have been avoided. All the suffering that could have been reduced. All if ancient agricultural knowledge had been preserved. All if those ideas had survived. All if understanding had continued. The same is true for engineering. Ancient engineers knew many things. They understood construction. They knew how to build. They created amazing structures. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it. We had to relearn it. We had to figure it out again. Centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. If that knowledge had been preserved, engineering could have advanced much faster. Better structures could have been built earlier. Better techniques could have been developed earlier. Better understanding could have been reached earlier. All because the foundation was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. Think about all the buildings that could have been built. All the bridges that could have been constructed. All the infrastructure that could have been created. All if ancient engineering knowledge had been preserved. All if those ideas had survived. All if understanding had continued. The ancient Romans built amazing structures, aqueducts that carried water for miles, bridges that spanned wide rivers, buildings that stood for thousands of years. They knew about concrete, they understood construction, they had engineering knowledge. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it, we had to relearn it, we had to figure it out again. Centuries later, after the knowledge was lost. Roman concrete was incredibly strong. Some Roman structures are still standing today, more than 2,000 years later, but we lost the recipe. We lost the knowledge of how to make it. We had to figure it out again. Modern scientists are still studying Roman concrete, still trying to understand how it was made. Still trying to rediscover the knowledge that was lost. If that knowledge had been preserved, we could have built stronger structures much earlier, more durable buildings, longer-lasting infrastructure, better construction, all because the knowledge was there, all because the ideas survived, all because understanding continued. Ancient engineers also knew about arches, about domes, about vaults. They understood how to build large structures, how to span wide spaces, how to create impressive buildings. But much of that knowledge was lost. We had to rediscover it, we had to relearn it, we had to figure it out again, centuries later. After the knowledge was lost. The Pantheon in Rome has a dome. It was built almost 2,000 years ago. It's still standing, it's still impressive, but we lost much of the knowledge of how it was built. We lost the detailed engineering. We lost the complete understanding. We had to figure it out again. We had to rediscover the principles. We had to relearn the techniques. If that knowledge had been preserved, we could have built domed structures much earlier. More impressive buildings, more advanced architecture, better engineering, all because the knowledge was there, all because the ideas survived, all because understanding continued. But it's not just about practical things, it's also about ideas, about philosophy, about how people think, about how people understand the world. If ancient philosophical works had been preserved, philosophy could have advanced much faster. New ideas could have been developed earlier. New understanding could have been reached earlier. All because the foundation was there. All because the knowledge was preserved. All because the ideas survived. Think about how people think about justice, about democracy, about ethics, about how to live. If ancient philosophical works had been preserved, these ideas could have developed differently. They could have advanced faster. They could have been understood better. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. The same is true for art, for literature, for culture. If ancient works had been preserved, art could have developed differently. Literature could have advanced faster. Culture could have been richer. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. all because understanding continued. Think about all the stories that were lost, all the plays that were destroyed, all the poems that disappeared. If they had been preserved, literature would be richer, art would be more diverse, culture would be more complete, all because the knowledge was there, all because the ideas survived, all because understanding continued. But the ripple effects go even deeper. They affect education, they affect how people learn, they affect how knowledge is shared. If the Library of Alexandria had survived, it would have set an example. It would have shown the importance of preserving knowledge. It would have inspired other libraries. It would have encouraged the preservation of ideas. More libraries might have been built, more knowledge might have been preserved, more ideas might have survived. The tradition of preserving knowledge might have been stronger. The practice of protecting ideas might have been more common. The habit of maintaining understanding might have been more widespread. Education might have been different. If knowledge had been preserved, education could have been richer. Students could have learned from ancient works. They could have studied original sources. They could have built on what came before. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. Universities might have been different. If knowledge had been preserved, universities could have been richer. They could have had access to ancient works. They could have studied original sources. They could have built on preserved knowledge. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. The first universities were founded in the Middle Ages. In Bologna, in Paris, in Oxford, they were centers of learning. But they had limited knowledge. They had incomplete information. They had to work with what had survived. They had to build on what had been preserved. They had to rediscover what had been lost. If the Library of Alexandria had survived, universities could have been richer. They could have had access to all that preserved knowledge. They could have studied all those ancient works. They could have built on all that maintained understanding. Education could have been more complete. Understanding could have been greater. Progress could have been faster. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. Think about all the students who could have learned more. All the scholars who could have studied more. All the understanding that could have been reached. All if ancient knowledge had been preserved. All if those ideas had survived. All if understanding had continued. The impact on education would have been profound. If knowledge had been preserved, education could have been richer. Students could have learned from ancient works. They could have studied original sources. They could have built on what came before. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. The impact on society would have been profound. If knowledge had been preserved, society might have been more advanced. People might have been more educated. Understanding might have been greater. Progress might have been faster. All because the knowledge was there. All because the ideas survived. All because understanding continued. Think about how different the world would be, how different civilization would be, how different humanity would be, all if the Library of Alexandria had survived. All if knowledge had been preserved. All if ideas had survived. All if understanding had continued. The changes would be enormous. The transformation would be complete. The advancement would be profound. All because one library survived. All because knowledge was preserved. All because ideas didn't disappear. All because understanding continued. But we can't change the past. We can't bring back what was lost. We can't recover what was destroyed. We can only learn from it. We can only try to prevent it from happening again. We can only try to preserve what we have. We can only try to protect knowledge for the future. And we can wonder, we can imagine, we can ask, what if? What if the library had survived? What if knowledge had been preserved? What if ideas had survived? What if understanding had continued? What if the world had been different? What if civilization had been more advanced? What if everything had been transformed? It's a fascinating question. A thought-provoking question. A question that makes us think about the importance of knowledge, the fragility of ideas, the value of preservation, the responsibility we have, the future we're building, the knowledge we're protecting, the ideas we're preserving, the understanding we're maintaining. And that brings us to the bigger picture. The lessons we can learn, the importance of preserving knowledge, the responsibility we have, the future we're protecting, the knowledge we're maintaining, the ideas we're preserving, the understanding we're building. The story of the Library of Alexandria teaches us something important. It teaches us about the fragility of knowledge. It teaches us about the importance of preservation. It teaches us about the responsibility we have. It teaches us about the future we're building. Knowledge is precious, it's valuable, it's important, but it's also fragile. It can be lost, it can be destroyed. It can disappear. It needs protection, it needs care, it needs preservation, it needs to be maintained, it needs to be protected, it needs to be kept safe. The Library of Alexandria was an attempt to preserve knowledge, to protect ideas, to maintain understanding. It was ambitious, it was impressive, it was important. But it wasn't enough, it wasn't permanent, it wasn't invincible, it was destroyed, it was lost, it disappeared. But we can learn from that. We can learn how to preserve knowledge better. We can learn how to protect ideas better. We can learn how to maintain understanding better. We can learn how to keep knowledge safe, how to make it last, how to ensure it survives. Today we have better tools. We have digital storage, we have the internet, we have cloud backups. We have multiple copies in multiple places. We have ways to preserve knowledge that were impossible in ancient times. We have ways to protect ideas that didn't exist before. We have ways to maintain understanding that are more reliable. But we still need to be careful. We still need to be vigilant. We still need to protect knowledge. We still need to preserve ideas. We still need to maintain understanding. We still need to keep knowledge safe. We still need to make it last. We still need to ensure it survives. Digital storage can fail. The internet can go down. Backups can be lost. Knowledge can still be destroyed. Knowledge can still disappear. Knowledge can still be lost. We need multiple backups. We need multiple copies. We need multiple places. We need to spread knowledge widely. We need to preserve it in many forms. We need to protect it in many ways. We've learned from the Library of Alexandria. We've learned how fragile knowledge is. We've learned how easily it can be lost. We've learned how important it is to preserve it. We've learned how to protect it, how to back it up, how to spread it, how to keep it safe. But we can always do better. We can always preserve more. We can always protect more. We can always spread more. We can always keep more knowledge safe. The story of the Library of Alexandria reminds us of that. It reminds us how precious knowledge is, how fragile it is, how important it is to preserve it. Knowledge is like a treasure. It's valuable, it's important, it's worth protecting. But it's also like a garden. It needs care, it needs attention, it needs protection. If you neglect it, it dies. If you don't water it, it withers. If you don't protect it, it's destroyed. But if you care for it, it grows. If you preserve it, it survives. If you protect it, it flourishes. The Library of Alexandria was like a treasure, like a garden. It was cared for, it was protected, it was preserved. For a while. For centuries, it grew, it flourished, it became the greatest treasure, the greatest garden the world had ever seen. But then it was neglected, then it was destroyed. Then it was lost, the treasure was stolen, the garden died, the knowledge withered, the ideas disappeared, the understanding was lost, forever. But we can learn from that. We can learn how to preserve knowledge better. We can learn how to protect ideas better. We can learn how to maintain understanding better. We can learn how to keep the treasure safe, how to keep the garden alive, how to make it grow, how to make it flourish, how to make it last. And we have a responsibility to preserve knowledge, a responsibility to protect ideas, a responsibility to maintain understanding, a responsibility to keep knowledge safe, a responsibility to make it last, a responsibility to ensure it survives. We're building the future. We're creating the knowledge that future generations will use. We're preserving the ideas that future generations will build on. We're maintaining the understanding that future generations will expand. We have a responsibility to do it well, to do it carefully, to do it thoroughly, to do it right. The Library of Alexandria reminds us of that. It reminds us how important knowledge is, how fragile it is, how easily it can be lost, how important it is to preserve it, how important it is to protect it, how important it is to maintain it. And it reminds us to wonder, to imagine, to ask, what if? What if knowledge had been preserved? What if ideas had survived? What if understanding had continued? What if progress had been faster? What if civilization had been more advanced? What if everything had been different? It's a fascinating question, a thought-provoking question, a question that makes us think about the past, about the present, about the future, about knowledge, about ideas, about understanding, about preservation, about protection, about responsibility. And that's what makes the story of the Library of Alexandria so important, not just because of what was lost, but because of what we can learn. Not just because of the tragedy, but because of the lessons. Not just because of the destruction, but because of the reminder of how precious knowledge is, how fragile it is, how important it is to preserve it. Knowledge is humanity's greatest treasure. Ideas are our most valuable possession. Understanding is our most important achievement. And preserving them is our most critical responsibility. The Library of Alexandria reminds us of that. It reminds us to protect knowledge, to preserve ideas, to maintain understanding, to keep the treasure safe, to keep the garden alive, to make it grow, to make it flourish, to make it last. The story of the Library of Alexandria is a cautionary tale. It shows us what can happen when knowledge is lost. It shows us the cost of destruction. It shows us the price of neglect. It shows us how fragile knowledge is, how easily it can be lost, how important it is to preserve it. But it's also an inspiring story. It shows us what's possible. It shows us what can be achieved. It shows us the power of preservation. It shows us the value of knowledge. It shows us the importance of ideas. It shows us the significance of understanding. The Library of Alexandria was humanity's first great experiment in collecting and preserving all knowledge. It was ambitious, it was impressive, it was important, it showed what was possible, it demonstrated what could be achieved, it proved the value of preservation. Even though it was lost, it inspired others, it showed the importance of libraries, it demonstrated the value of knowledge, it proved the significance of preservation. It continues to inspire us today. It continues to remind us of the importance of knowledge. It continues to show us the value of preservation. Modern libraries are the heirs of the Library of Alexandria. They continue its mission. They preserve knowledge. They protect ideas. They maintain understanding. They keep the treasure safe. They keep the garden alive. They make it grow. They make it flourish. They make it last. The Library of Alexandria may be gone, but its spirit lives on. In every library, in every preserved book, in every protected idea, in every maintained understanding. The mission continues, the work goes on. The preservation never stops. Knowledge is humanity's greatest treasure. Ideas are our most valuable possession. Understanding is our most important achievement. And preserving them is our most critical responsibility. The Library of Alexandria reminds us of that. It reminds us to protect knowledge, to preserve ideas, to maintain understanding, to keep the treasure safe, to keep the garden alive, to make it grow, to make it flourish, to make it last. And now, as we come to the end of our journey, let's remember what we've explored. Let's reflect on what we've learned. Let's appreciate the story we've told. We've traveled through time, we've visited ancient Alexandria, we've seen the Library of Alexandria, we've understood what it was, how it worked, what it contained. We've discovered what knowledge was lost, what ideas vanished, what discoveries disappeared. We've learned how knowledge spreads and survives, how fragile it can be, how precious it is. We've imagined what might have happened if the library had survived, if all that knowledge had been preserved, if those ideas had been passed down. How would science have advanced? How would technology have developed? How would medicine have progressed? How would civilization have changed? The ripple effects would have been enormous. One library, one collection of knowledge, surviving through time, changing everything. The Library of Alexandria was humanity's first great experiment in collecting and preserving all knowledge. It was ambitious, it was impressive, it was important. But it was also fragile, it was also vulnerable, it was also lost. We've learned from that. We've learned how to preserve knowledge better. We've learned how to protect ideas better. We've learned how to maintain understanding better. We've learned how to keep knowledge safe, how to make it last, how to ensure it survives. Knowledge is precious, ideas are valuable, understanding is important, and preserving them is our responsibility. The Library of Alexandria reminds us of that. It reminds us to protect knowledge, to preserve ideas, to maintain understanding, to keep the treasure safe, to keep the garden alive, to make it grow, to make it flourish, to make it last. Thank you for exploring this journey with me, through history and knowledge, through loss and preservation, through the past and the present, through what was and what might have been, through time and understanding, through curiosity and wonder, through science and history. If you enjoyed this calm exploration of history and knowledge, there are more stories waiting, more mysteries to explore, more questions to ask, more science to discover, more journeys to take, more truths to find, one sleepy soul at a time. Sweet dreams, and keep asking questions about the amazing world of knowledge around us. The story of the Library of Alexandria is written in history, in loss, in preservation, in the importance of protecting ideas. And the power of curiosity is written in every great library, in every preserved book, in every protected idea, including the Library of Alexandria, including you, including all of us. The knowledge is there, the ideas are there, the understanding is there, waiting to be preserved, waiting to be protected, waiting to be maintained. By curious minds, by dedicated protectors, by responsible preservers, by librarians, by scholars, by you. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with wonder and curiosity. May you see the importance of knowledge. May you ask questions about preservation. May you discover the value of ideas, one question at a time. one idea at a time, one discovery at a time. The story of the Library of Alexandria is told in history, in loss, in the importance of preservation. The power of knowledge is eternal. In every preserved book, in every protected idea, in every maintained understanding. The Library of Alexandria showed us that knowledge matters, that ideas matter, that understanding matters. Modern preservation shows us how to protect them, how to preserve them, how to maintain them. Together they reveal the story of human knowledge, the story of preservation, the story of us. And knowledge continues. Always. Forever. Beautifully. Each generation preserves what came before. Each discovery builds on the last. Each question opens new doors. Each idea reveals new truths. Knowledge is a journey, a never-ending journey, of preservation, of understanding, of wonder. So keep preserving, keep protecting, keep maintaining. That's what the Library of Alexandria teaches us. That's what great libraries show us. That's what drives knowledge forward. That's what changes the world. The knowledge is there, waiting to be preserved. The ideas are there, waiting to be protected. The understanding is there, waiting to be maintained. By you, by librarians, by scholars, by curious minds everywhere. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with wonder. May you see the importance of knowledge. May you ask questions about preservation. May you discover the value of ideas. One question at a time, one idea at a time, one discovery at a time, one sleepy soul at a time. Good night.